In whiskey, the wind didn't whisper. It hissed. It clung to soot and ash, twisted through caved-in homes and charred fence posts, carrying stories no one dared speak aloud. This wasn't just weather. This was the memory of a town that refused to forget. Sheriff Ethan Cole stood at the edge of a forest locals never entered. They called it the Deadwood, but not because of anything they could prove. They feared it, because sometimes the people who went in never came back out. Maybell's scarf had been found near the tree line that morning, torn, dirty, snagged on a low branch like it had tried to hold her back. She hadn't shown up for work, hadn't returned to her boarding house, and in a town where silence was the strongest currency, even the quiet ones were now whispering. She followed the ghost. Ethan had heard it before. Stories from old-timers with fogged-over eyes and trembling hands. They always started the same: a woman in white, hair like silver thread, feet that didn't touch the ground. A melody, they said, faint and haunting, like a lullaby sung through broken teeth. But Ethan didn't believe in ghosts. He believed in violence. He believed in pain. And he believed that whoever took Maybell was counting on fear to keep the town blind. The forest loomed ahead like a frozen wave. Thick trunks stood side by side, tall as watchtowers, branches clawing at the sky. The earth beneath them was soft, damp, unwilling to hold footprints for long. Ethan moved slowly. The crunch beneath his boots was muted by layers of dead leaves and time. Every few steps, he stopped, listened, watched. The air was colder here. Not wind chill cold, but something else. Something that clung to the ribs. He passed a tree with markings carved deep into its bark. Old symbols, unfamiliar. Some crossed out, some circled. A warning or a memory, then he saw it. A shred of white, fabric, torn and fluttering gently on a branch. Close by, barely visible. A wire, thin, sharp, tied between two trees at ankle height. A trap. Ghosts don't set traps, Ethan thought. He followed the signs deeper. There was a pattern now: unnatural breaks in twigs, disturbed moss, scratches on bark that curved rather than clawed. Someone had been here, recently, and they wanted to be followed, or they didn't expect to be. The deeper he walked, the quieter the forest grew. No birds, no insects, only breath, and trees that seemed to lean in, just slightly, as if listening. And then, a clearing. In the center stood a cabin, old, but not abandoned. Its wood was weather-beaten but recently patched in places. The lock on the door, new, shiny, out of place. Ethan circled it once. No windows, no smoke, no sound. Then, he noticed the ground. The dirt just beside the porch had been turned, loosely packed again. He knelt, scraped a layer with his knife. Wood, a trapdoor, the kind you only build when you have something to hide. He opened it. A scent rose up like a slap, stale blood. Sweat, chemicals, rot. He climbed down. The bunker below was no larger than a stable, but it was built solid, like a storm shelter. No light, except the beam from his lantern cutting across stone and steel. There were chains on the wall, a stained mattress in the corner, syringes, a plastic mask with bite marks, a soiled cloth. He stepped over a crate, inside empty bottles labeled methyl S, and there, beside the mattress, a scarf, light blue, with an M hand-stitched in the corner. Maybell's. He didn't need a ghost story now. He needed a name. Ethan didn't return to the station. He went straight to Clara, the town's only journalist, and the only one who still believed this town was capable of the truth. He handed her the scarf. He didn't say a word. She didn't need one. She already had a file open on her desk, yellowed newsprint, red string, a map with pushpins marking 3 women who'd vanished over the past 5 years. No official record, no connection drawn. But all 3 had gone missing after joining a local group called the Fellowship of Renewal, led by a man named Reverend Lucas. Lucas was new to whiskey, charming, clean, always in white. He spoke of rebirth, healing, letting go of grief. He hosted late-night prayer circles near the forest. He welcomed the broken, the tired, the forgotten, especially women who had nowhere else to go. And no one ever questioned him, because he spoke softly and always smiled. But Clara's file told another story. None of the missing had families in town. All were last seen near the forest. All were declared runaways until they were forgotten. Except Clara never forgot, and neither would Ethan. Ethan didn't sleep that night. He sat by the window, watching fog creep between the buildings like it was looking for something or someone. Whiskey didn't wake up screaming anymore. It just accepted what it had become. And that's what scared Ethan the most. Complacency, silence, complicity. That's how evil grows roots. The next day, Reverend Lucas announced a cleansing ceremony at the northern tree line, open to all, spiritual renewal under the moonlight. But Ethan knew this wasn't a sermon. It was a harvest. He and Clara arrived early, stayed hidden from behind a ridge of trees. They watched as followers in white robes gathered around a bonfire, chanting, swaying, eyes vacant, bodies obedient. And in the center, the Reverend raised his arms and led a girl forward. She couldn't walk properly. Her steps were short, unsteady, like she was trying to wake up from inside her own skull. Maybell. Ethan moved before Clara could stop him. He pushed through the brush, low and fast, circled wide, staying in the shadows, got behind the group. As Lucas raised a cloth to cover Maybell's face, Ethan stepped out, gun drawn, no words. Lucas dropped the cloth, smiled, that same rehearsed smile. But behind it, there was no surprise, only calculation. He ran. Ethan fired once, missed, chased him through the woods. The trees grew thicker, the night darker, then the cabin. Lucas reached it first. He threw the trapdoor open and dove in. Ethan followed, careful, deliberate, underground. It smelled worse than before. Sweat, blood, fear. The light from his lantern flickered against the walls, revealing 3 more women, drugged, alive. Chains hung from the ceiling like vines in a jungle built from nightmares. And in the far corner, Lucas waited, a knife in hand, back against the wall, breathing shallow. He lunged. Ethan didn't flinch. He caught the wrist, turned it, disarmed him. In the silence that followed, Ethan pressed Lucas to the floor. The man struggled until he saw something in Ethan's eyes and stopped. Not fear, not pain, but clarity. Because sometimes the worst thing you can do to evil is show it. It's been seen. They brought the women out. Maybell blinked at the stars like she had never seen them before. And when she spoke, her voice cracked like ice on a frozen lake. I thought I was dead. News spread fast. By morning, the cabin had burned. No one claimed responsibility. The fellowship dissolved, its members scattered. Lucas, was taken to the county jail, pending trial, and the people of whiskey. They told themselves it was over. The ghost had been caught. But Ethan knew better. A week later, he visited Alice, the old woman who lived by the woods. She sat in her chair, hands clasped, eyes never leaving the trees. She didn't look at him when he entered, didn't ask why he came, just spoke. "You think it's finished?" Ethan didn't respond. "I've lived here long enough to know," she said. "The trees don't lie, but the men who walk among them always do." She looked at him then, not angry, not afraid, just tired. "You stopped a man," she whispered, "but you didn't stop what was behind him." That night, Ethan stood at the edge of the forest again, alone. No wind, no sound, only the trees, and something behind them, watching. Then came the call. A rancher had found something on his land up on the ridge, hanging from a tree. Ethan arrived before the sun had fully risen. There, between two bare branches, swayed the body of a woman, one of the survivors, one they thought had made it home. Her arms were bound, her eyes open, her skin marked with ash, symbols drawn in patterns Ethan didn't recognize, but felt. On the bark beneath her feet, scratched deep with something sharp, were 3 words, "You saw nothing." Ethan stared at the message, not as a warning, but as a challenge, because whatever haunted whiskey hadn't left. It had simply changed its face, and the forest was still hungry.